Welcome to the show.
Welcome, everyone.
You are listening to the Wow Pod.
Oh,
I'm Betsy.
I'm Jared, and
Thanks for joining today.
yes, today we're going to, we've got some funny news, and we're going to chat about some, what they're calling an algorithmic crime prevention system.
Yes.
I wonder if they'll start offering a degree in that in college.
They probably already do. It's like statistics in crime or something.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So the reason that this really caught me off guard is the obvious connection to the movie Minority Report.
Mm-hmm.
So if we break down Minority Report before we get started, in Minority Report they had these three people that were called Pre-Cogs that would dream these dreams of future crimes, and these
weren't they like three women in
a vat of
pajamas swimming in sensory deprivation tanks?
Yes.
Okay.
They were really being tortured. At any rate, these
that sounds pretty good right now.
True. Not a bad gig.
Yeah. I mean,
but they would have these dreams. These precogs would have these dreams, and when they collected enough information, these dreams would then be placed onto a really cool VR headset-like computer monitor where Tom Cruise would then go out and apprehend the criminals prior to the crime being committed.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we're not there yet.
Mm-hmm.
However, it is alarming, to say the very least, the fact that this algorithm, A, exists, and B, is in the hands of people who have power and money.
Oh, yeah.
Because nothing could go wrong with that. I mean, it is safe. It's safe, right?
They would never...
They would never.
We got censored a couple weeks ago. Well, someone shared something on our page that got censored a couple weeks ago.
I saw that.
I don't remember exactly what it was, but it just makes me laugh that
it was about the Georgia Guidestones.
Yeah, that someone
turned this in.
That
flagged us.
That Facebook has a group of people that they've hired that I picture them having bob haircuts, and their pants have to be pulled up past their navels.
Easily.
And they're just it was a joke that someone put up, which, let's face it, I try to keep 90% of this show a little bit light and humorous. And yes, 99.6% of the stuff that falls out of my head is BS.
Or just like thoughts.
Most of the time I say stuff to try to bring humor or light to a situation. But anyways,
we're just rumbling on about this stuff.
I mean, if I say something like, I don't know, that dancer has two left feet, is the Facebook people going to jump on there and say, "Oh, that's virtually impossible. I've looked at pictures of them in the past, and
they in fact do not have two left feet because I've checked their receipts."
It's two right feet. I get but either way, it is what it is. They do what they do, and I'm still having fun.
And this show will be much of the same, because I mean, really, it's just conspiracy theory at this point, at least for the next couple of years. At any rate,
for the next couple, I know things are moving fast.
They are kind of picking up speed. Yeah,
one of us getting arrested.
So this algorithm, formulated by social scientists at the University of Chicago, has been being tested at an efficacy rate of 90%.
Oh.
So
I'd like to know what parameters they put into it.
So the version that we're currently actually using in big cities like Chicago, Detroit, it's being used, abroad in British Columbia.
So what does it say about Chicago? It's a holiday weekend, so you're in the triple digits.
It's an interesting set of facts, and some of them were unexpected, like weather. They have figured
It's
out
predicting weather.
that good weather,
Uh-huh.
a good weather weekend predicts terrible incidents of crime. And we're not talking petty theft. We're talking hard crime.
But that's stuff you recognize because more people are home. Like, say you've got a mediocre burglar, and he's like, "Man, I should probably go steal a car." But it's raining, like that commercial for the whatever, where you buy a jacket or a kayak appears.
Yeah.
You know, but it's raining outside, and then the little what's his name pops on and says, gives him a jacket. But me and my ex-girlfriend used to steal cars together, but she broke up with me. He's like, okay, steal a truck then. I don't know, but you know.
Yeah.
So I that I understand that. I don't think that would take a severe computer program to predict, but remember how they say more crazy things happen on a full moon?
Yeah.
It's strictly because of visibility.
It's not because my interplanetary alignment is off.
It's not because the moon and the sun are in such positions that you catch more reflection of the sun off the moon. It's just because there's more visibility to go about and commit crimes. And that's an old wives' tale that comes prior to, you know, a lot of light pollution coming from inhabited areas. Which is because nowadays the moon has no effect on crime.
Because now there's lights everywhere.
In most cities, you'd probably have to strain your eyes to see the moon over the light pollution.
True. So what this first version has done quite effectively is taken these cities like LA, Atlanta, Philadelphia, Chicago, Detroit, and it's broken it down into these 1,000 square foot tiles. So it's 1,000 square feet. That's small in a city scope.
That's like a city block, if that. 1,000 square feet, like
a corner.
Yeah, there's probably, and when you look at it, like on an average city block, there's probably 4 of those.
Yeah. And it takes these and it pairs up these little like battleship areas with
B4.
Boom.
You sunk my Broadway in 200 South.
And it pairs it up with what they call natural human behavior.
Mm-hmm.
It also stacks into this algorithm historical data on violent crimes and property crimes within these little grid patterns. And then it adds like all of the spice, the glitter on top. So it talks about weather, it talks about economics, it puts in population density, it puts in schooling, it puts all of these contributing factors, and then it scores these grids. So how they have used it to date, actually for several years now, is by color coding these grids. So when the police detectives and the beat cops all show up for their shift, they pop up the grid and they say, okay, this is what the grid says.
So like
today.
in their stand to meeting, their
Yes.
watch meeting.
Yes. And it says these little 1,000 square foot areas are hot tonight because they're red. They've turned the color red based on all of this information being fed in. So we're going to have 2 cops here instead of 1. And these little green areas, we can go ahead and take someone from there to help cover these red areas. So
But
it's a responsible use right now.
It is, but wouldn't that automatically break the prediction to where you can't prove the prediction anymore?
Because you got 2 cops in the area?
Because you push the crime out of there externally, and then a crime happens in the green area. Now, was the prediction correct? Or
This is the thing that I think
or
scientists will never understand,
that's a tough thing.
because they're proving accuracy at a 90% rate. So only 10% of the time, either the algorithm is not getting it right or the police presence is stopping it.
Or a sudden thunderstorm, or
the other 90% of the time, the crime is still happening.
yeah, or a water line broke in that building and is pouring water down onto the street. So the criminal's like, well, not going to do it here in the sewer rain.
Yeah. So
I mean, I absolutely believe that something like that is possible. But what gets me is, yeah, the minute you start enacting on it, you disprove it, which then it makes it look like it's false, which then you quit following it. So then you lax on it. Then it proves itself. So you start it's going to be a cat chasing or a dog chasing its tail. Well, cats might too.
So I think that the researchers into this recognize that false positive.
Oh, if I recognize it, I guarantee anybody with an IQ over, what do you think, 51, 52, has this down.
So what they have started to implement, and this is the Minority Report piece of this whole thing. Hi, Ryan. How are you?
Hey, what's going on?
Hey, Norma. So the Minority Report piece of this is they've layered on now and are currently using what they call a crime and victimization risk model.
Okay.
And what this does is produce a list of strategic subjects.
Okay.
And a list of potential victims.
So they're narrowing individuals out now?
Listen, I don't want to know. Okay, I do. I want to know if I'm on either of those lists. Like, shoot me a text, send me an email. You know, what I want to know if I made it on either of those lists. Just for transparency.
If you're thinking I'm on the criminal list, don't come visit.
No, I want you to tell me I'm on it.
Oh, put a picture of me in the post office. Don't come visit.
And if I'm on a potential victim list.
Now that one, so they are breaking down and like they're seeing this person might.
The algorithm is replacing the Pre-Cog dream.
Oh.
In the Pre-Cog dream, the two pieces of information that were most valuable was the victim and the perpetrator. And then as the dream went on, they kind of started filling in by looking at the dream sequence, like where did it happen? What time of day was it? Kind of all those missing pieces. You know, they would watch for an alarm clock in the viewpoint. Okay, so it says 5:43, but the sun isn't up, so it's got to be 5:43 a.m. And then they were piecing these dreams together. So this algorithm is literally doing that.
And it's figuring out individuals that may be, the crazy part is figuring out they may be a victim.
Yeah. So this model.
So like it's looking around a neighborhood, we'll say in Detroit, and it sees, you know, little Miss Brown, you know, and thinks that she might be a victim. You know, she runs a whatever, you know,
and what they're doing is they are currently testing.
And how do you ethically handle that?
This is the problem. Minority
the
Report
ethics on the criminal side is super questionable.
Yeah.
But the ethics on the victim side of it,
super questionable.
I mean, the criminal side is way super questionable because you are breaching due process. But on the victim side,
I would want to know.
Yeah.
So here's how they're doing it, from what I understand. They have this previously used model that breaks down these 1,000 square foot tiles. They have layered on this perpetrator model, and they have built into it crazy things. like cell tower interactivity, purchase activity, to kind of follow where are these perpetrators at. And if that 1,000 square foot tile turns red where Little Miss Brown is located, her name pops in and says, this is your likely victim. Boom. Cops are on the
So they've
hunt.
narrowed the area to where they're capturing, because let's face it, in the town we grew up in, they do 1,000 square foot model in the center of town, 4 people.
A tree.
Yeah.
There's going to be a fence, a tree.
Yeah, at the most 4 people. That's if you accidentally couch a
And
whole
there may
house
be
in.
several victims in
But
that 1,000 square foot
if
in these
you're in
densely populated
Yeah,
areas.
if you're in a dense city, like let's say they do New York, where it's got a lot of tall apartment buildings, you could get hundreds of people.
So then they score these potential victims and potential perpetrators, or what they call strategic subjects.
Instead of 3 people in an isolation chamber, they've got 3 dudes at a desk with the 9.5 and the 7.2. And
That was a solid 10.
it's a bad joke, guys. I'm sorry. I should.
But they score them based on all of these other contributing factors. And so their score fluctuates based on weather, their current economic status, if they recently had a conviction, all of it changes. It's a live score that tries to adjust for all the other moving parts. The higher the score means that you are more likely to be a subject or a potential victim.
So, and it actually narrows out who's a subject, who's a victim. It doesn't just say, column A and column B. We don't know who's who.
Right.
Because that would be even scarier.
Yeah.
Because, like, what if old Mrs. Brown is actually a mafia boss? Like, she's like a Queen of the South lady where she's delivering drugs all over the country.
So, what we do know about this model to date is that it's doing a pretty good job.
Really?
And that's scary. What we also know about this model to date is that there was an investigation done into the modeling and the people listed, and nearly half of the people identified by the model as potential perpetrators have yet to be charged with any crime historically.
Okay, so good. We're not charging people on...
No, but they're landing on this model that's proving to be 90% accurate, and they've never been charged with a crime in their life. They're not repeat offenders. So this is like predicting first crime.
So have they proven that they have... Has there been any proof that it has stopped crime?
So...
Do they have any examples of that?
Yes. Based on the modeling and the positioning of police, they have found that there is actual crime happening that they're able to intervene in.
Like, has there been an
in the red
overall dip in
squares.
crime?
No, but an overall apprehension has gone up tenfold.
So apprehension has gone up. So they're
They're
using
not
it.
stopping crime.
They're using it to place police to prosecute it.
To place police in the proper areas. And what they're finding is based on the model, the green areas, no crime happens that day.
But my question is, they're saying that people that end up on this list who don't commit crimes. So that means that this program is faulty somehow. Because if they're not committing a crime,
well, they're not popping up as being the perpetrator of a current crime, but they're on this subject watch list, and they've never committed a crime yet to date.
See, I don't like the subject watch list.
I don't either.
That's like we've had
It's
senators.
profiling.
We've had senators and congressmen end up on the no-fly list because in their duty as a senator or congressman, they have to question a law that they find or their constituents find irresponsible or unconstitutional, and they've ended up on, or there's been people who have a name that's similar to another name. There's been toddlers on no-fly lists who've never been on an airplane in their life.
The problem I have with this is the ethical nature that it profiles specific people, and they're not currently making, knock on wood, they're not currently making arrests based on this Pre-Cog information.
Give it 2 weeks.
But that's the problem. The problem is they're exploring the efficacy of it. So we are a minor step away from taking preemptive measures.
What would that first trial look like?
Dude.
You are, the charges are you're being held in, attempted murder charges, whatever, for a crime on 3 weeks from now. And you're like, what?
Yeah. So back to Minority Report. It doesn't end well.
Oh,
if you haven't seen it,
yeah, you should watch it. Tom Cruise,
you should watch it.
Gets an Asian fellow's eyeballs so that he can go to Costco.
Because he ends up on the Minority Report.
Ends up on the Minority Report, and then and so the show is an ethic. It's a show that it's an action movie that explores the ethical question of arresting someone for a pre-crime. Starts out, he arrests a guy because the guy walks in and his wife's cheating on him in the dream, but they arrest him like a week before it happens, right? Something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. It's been a minute since I saw it, but it is, man, it's an interesting thought if they can start doing that stuff. And how long, overall, how long before we have President McIntosh?
I know.
Or Apple. Oh God, not Apple. But how long till we have a president that does that?
So this algorithm is not to be taken lightly. And I look at it a couple of ways. And we'll cover that after we do the weird news.
Okay, first weird news. We're going
to come to Salt Lake City, Utah. Salt Lake City, Utah, mid-June. This just happened. Couple of geniuses. I wonder if they were on a list. Does Salt Lake have a list? Because they should have been on a stinking list. They rolled up next to this company box truck in a parking lot in their own pickup. While one waited, the other got under the company truck. And we all know gas prices are high. They're high. I mean, I'll give them that. The other got under the company truck and used a battery-powered drill. So a bit, a metal bit against metal, to drill a hole into the gas tank.
It's not hot.
To steal the fuel while the truck was sitting dormant.
Now, I want to just make a side note. One, it might be a plastic tank, but two, also, this is very common.
Yeah. Stealing gas is a common occurrence.
Well, and drilling a hole through the tank.
That is absolutely insane to me. Modern
tanks generally have a screen that's in it about 4 inches
so that
down
you can't siphon.
For, siphon prevention. But yeah.
At any rate, the perp's shirt catches on fire. The fuel pours out and just absolutely lights him head to toe on fire. So he's seen on video
what date
surveillance.
Was this on?
Mid-June. KSL TV reports that he then jumps back into the pickup and they drive away with one of them on fire. And they're seen on surveillance video. There's like flames and smoke coming out of the truck.
Looks like a bad Cheech and Chong skit.
Yeah. And Even with all of that, there's not been an arrest made yet.
Well, I mean, he would have to go to the hospital probably to get an arrest on.
Oh, I can't.
That is fantastic.
Yeah.
Norma says profiling is an assumption of future guilt.
Yeah, this is profiling on a mathematical level.
Profiling can also be like historically, and I would probably argue even today, profiling has been where people have been selected by their race or gender, and maybe not always stopped, but watched closely, like you hear about it in stores.
Mm-hmm.
There was just a study done, probably a TikTok study, because that's where all the best scientific studies are done nowadays. But anyways, this guy was walking through a busy city street, and he'd hold out his hands to shake people's hands. He'd hold out his hand like handshake.
Uh-huh.
And it was like 99% of men would shake his hand. Even if they're in a big group talking, they all kind of shuffle into single file. Every one of them shakes his hand. And every woman gave him a disgusted look and a wide berth. And people look at that, well, women, they're so rude. But no.
It's self-preservation.
Yeah, they were profiling him as a man who was acting inappropriately, but not inappropriately in that way. He was just injecting himself into their personal space or asking to, and they were choosing not to let him. So I wouldn't call that they were doing anything wrong, but women are, on average smaller and although the statistics say that men face more violence in public than women are at a greater risk, even though statistically they're not, because more violence is brought against men. But if it does happen, women are, I should say, at a greater risk of not being able to stop it.
Yes.
Or,
agreed.
It's a, how do I put this? Again, IQ of 54, 55, what did I say before?
50.
Smart person would know.
Yes. 51, I believe.
51.
51.
Got it. Ryan says,
have you ever taken an IQ test?
They don't have them in crayon,
Oh,
Betsy.
stop.
Ryan says, wow, now you can tell a lot of thought went into the gas stealing.
Dude, I wanted to find that surveillance video of like the flames flying.
They're probably withholding it until
and
they actually
smoke,
file charges or something. That'd be funny. And then you put the Benny Hill song on it. that would polish it off.
Oh.
I have colored pencils for your IQ test. Heck yeah. Now, I require the ones that are about yonder big, like they give the kindergartners. Better have a good eraser on it. All right, go on.
Next story.
All right.
In Switzerland, Sion, Switzerland, there's a new concept for hotels. It is essentially a double bed on a platform with 2 bedside tables and lamps. There are no walls, ceilings, or doors, and it's on a roadside next to a petrol station.
Oh my gosh! I gotta show this on the.
It is called the 0-star hotel. I would agree, and it is some freaking brainchild of this Frank Ricklin, where he says that sleep is not the point. What's important is spending time in this hotel room and reflecting on the current world situation. So he doesn't want you to sleep. He wants you to lay there and ponder. Listen, dude, I do that already with 4 walls and a door and a bathroom.
Damn communists and their desire to have us all in struggle sessions.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. All right. I'm going to show this on the screen for these people watching.
And I want you to just hold on a second, because maybe he's crazy like a fox. To sleep.
Got the tractor just cruising next to your.
The cost to have an imperfect night's sleep is $337 a night.
Only those champagne socialists that go for this crap. Oh, you've got to be kidding me.
You would be more comfortable in the back seat of your car.
Now, do you think that's his wife delivering coffee, or do you think he called
No,
for
they
room
offer
service?
They offer a service where they can bring you drinks and things that you can pay additional money for. So I'm guessing that this butler here wanders into Garage S Bertollet and gets you your cherry Coke, brings it back.
Goes in there, got the shop coffee.
Like Maverick coffee.
Filtered through a cat litter box. Oh, gosh, man. Only you.
You're going to go to this hotel room and think about society and the rising tides, and
we've got to sit and ponder the evil that we have done. Oh, you frickin' people.
Yeah. Anyway.
Frickin' people. All right.
$337 a night.
I do have one story.
Okay, what you got?
Man arrested after using his horse to run down and trample an individual in Uinta County.
That's not how horses work.
Apparently this one do. Now, Uinta County, for those who are listening outside of Utah, is if you look at Utah and it's got the tall part and then it cuts down and goes across, Wyoming's tucked into that little armpit area. Uinta County is just below Wyoming. It's on that northeastern side. White Rocks, Utah. Now, White Rocks, I don't know if there's a White Rocks there, because
they're everywhere.
We have
one here, yeah.
Maybe we should name ours Bubble Rocks or something. Change it up. But anyways, a man was arrested after police said he used his horse to run down an individual in Uinta County.
Was he on it?
Yep.
Oh, okay. So that is how horses work.
Yep. Douglas Wooten, 65, was arrested and booked on one count of aggravated assault. Uinta County Sheriff Tarek Jones was dispatched at approximately 1:30 p.m. on Tuesday near the logger's cabin located on Mosby Mountain. According to a probable cause statement, the victim attempted to unload his four-wheeler from his pickup truck when Wooten approached him while riding a horse. I promise your computer would not have guessed any of this.
No.
Not it would have been, the computer would have been over there scratching its head.
Yeah.
The victim claimed he heard Wooten yell at him and say, "Now that we are alone, what have you got to say to me?" So they don't mention in here, but it sounds like there must have been an earlier argument.
Yeah.
Arresting documents say Wooten, with almost a gallop, but faster than a trot. So his horse was in between a gallop and a trot. Those are technical terms, by the way.
That are also not in the algorithm.
Yes, I would like to be able to tell you what they are, but we have a listener that could probably tell us what it is. Gallop and trot, what is that? 15 miles an hour? Somewhere in there, tell me. Anyways, arresting documents saying almost galloped faster than a trot. Ran his horse into the victim's chest. The victim was pinned up against his truck due to the force of the impact. He turned his horse while whipping and kicking his horse to charge at the victim, according to charging documents. Ran into the victim, slammed him up against his truck again. Continued like having his horse like push the man into the truck. It says trampled, but I mean trampled. You're getting trampled by a horse, and you're not there to press charges after. The victim was able to grab the reins of the horse near the bit and turn the horse away. The probable cause statement states that the man was struck by the horse for a third time. Following the altercation, the victim said Wooten was in a position where his wife and grandchildren could see the situation and rode away. So it makes me wonder if like the wife and grandchildren come around the corner and saw it and so they just rode off like nothing happened. Or if like there was a little cheering line, like some cheerleaders over there.
Go, go, go.
The victims sustained injuries to his left arm and had severe lower back pain that inhibited his ability to walk. It says enabled his ability to walk, but that doesn't really. Yeah.
That's not a good synonym.
So Wooten faces a 3rd-degree felony, aggravated assault, and for using a horse as a deadly weapon, knowingly to commit serious bodily injury. Man.
So back in 2019, there was another charge of this in Gainesville.
Gainesville,
Yeah.
Florida?
Yeah. Archer
It doesn't count. If it
accused of trying to run a man over with a horse.
It's in Florida, Betsy.
That's true.
Drop your computer in Florida.
I was just wondering, has this ever happened before?
It was used in combat for thousands of years, but let that computer program predict Florida.
It's all smoke.
We're going to need a bigger microchip.
All the squares are lit up red with stupid shit. Everyone's a potential victim. People are potential victims and subjects of their own crime.
One person in that 1,000-foot, he pops both sides.
Yes.
Oh, all right. Let's see what the people have to say. All right, Kendra coming through. I wouldn't even have to kick a horse to do it. She would do it on her own.
She's salty.
Oh, okay. Kendra says, I have a 3-year-old. I have them all. She's talking about the colored pencils for my IQ test. How many times does the bed get stolen? You know how they always say never walk into a hotel room with the blue light?
Yeah.
I wonder if this one will have the same issue.
Or if it'd be squeaky freaking clean because it's in front of a freaking gas station and you're not actually doing anything but pondering.
There's probably some creepy dudes that's their thing.
Oh my God. I mean, is it a defense if you get like an indecent exposure ticket that you were in your hotel room?
Well, that's the question. Could you walk up naked to your hotel window and just kind of boop the glass with your bare stuff?
Boop.
Just boop. Would you get in trouble for that? Would that be indecent exposure? Because that's pushing private out into public, maybe, or a borderline thereof.
What I think
I guess that would be up for
the cost of this stupid hotel room. That's indecent.
Yeah, $300 a night.
It's completely indecent.
But you've got to contemplate what you've done with yourself and sit down there. It's awful.
Yes.
Can't believe it.
So, final thoughts on this Minority Report. Because I'm kind of a little twisted. And I think it's that area, that little gray area that most people would find themselves in, that would march forward all of the unethical ramifications of something like this. Because having been the victim of a pretty violent crime, victimized, I wasn't the actual victim, but having been victimized by a pretty violent crime on our family, I don't know. I can say, sitting here today, that I would want to have known that that was going to happen, so that I could have taken measures to spare us that.
In a heartbeat. And
it's that gray area
I would have
sends this garbage.
It would have been nice to have even known during that lost time.
Yeah.
Even give me a city block.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you would be hard pressed to go through a list of people and find one that has never experienced crime.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of people, statistically, percentage-wise, that could see some value in knowing that they or someone they love was about to become a potential victim. And I would say if I looked through the list of the algorithmic factors, the people that we believe committed the crime on our family hit every one of those. They would have made the subject list. Yep. And because of that, even factors I didn't even consider, that's the slippery slope. That's the slippery slope that as humans we don't get involved to stop this, what would be absolute,
that is the question.
Awful.
That is the question. Do we want to have a system where flagrant abuse can be done for the greater good?
Yeah. Well, let me tell you,
in that circumstance, just give me the name.
Yeah, and most of us have that little grayscale until we end up on the subject list.
Oh, that's a tough one.
And then all of a sudden that grayscale is no longer worth it.
Oh.
But that's the slope. That's the slope, because my initial visceral response to this was, oh, this is a bad idea. But then you got this little thought process where you're like, well, if I look at the flip side of that, what could
it have changed?
What would it have changed for me? What could I have done with this information? How could I have intervened, or someone intervened, even if they didn't give the information to me personally? Mm-hmm. How could someone have stopped this? That's the slope.
Yeah. And I have more questions about that, because like, would this program be able to predict if, say, someone was interdicting on the behalf of the bad guys?
Ooh.
Because that's the question. Would they pop up? How deep would this go? I mean, theoretically, it probably could go pretty deep.
Yeah.
I think the thing they need to do with this machine to make it legitimate in this fine capitalist country we have, they need to make a game show. Dun, 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 dun.
Want to meet our potential victim?
And they throw you into a place and the machine... And okay, they throw a person into like a Running Man scenario, right? With the dynamo, the fat guy on the motorcycle with all the LED lights on him. And so they throw him in there. And then the contestants are the people on the outside guessing against a computer what he'll do.
Scientists versus... subject list and perpetrators.
Computer versus average Joe. It could be like on Idiocracy with the monster truck killing in the end.
Yeah.
But that reminds me, I want to mention something. For a while now, I've wanted to do a show on this guy. And, but Stalin had his kind of head investigator for the USSR.
Okay.
And his name, Lavrenti, it's Russian.
Mm-hmm.
Beria.
Okay.
And he had a statement.
Okay.
He was the head investigator that investigated people that were against communism. And his quote was, "You show me the man and I'll show you the crime."
Ooh.
The things this guy did. And that'll come out in the future show. That'll be one of the darkest shows we ever do. Because in my personal opinion, very few things reach the levels of darkness that the Marxist attempting to achieve governments have reached. You've got, of course, Lenin, Stalin, Mao, Pol Pot. Maybe we should just do a show one day on all those guys, but this guy, he did some, he did some nightmarish things. And, but those will come out in a future shows. And that's what I worry about with this, because if you start nabbing people up for pre-crime.
Well, and that would be the next step, because if they if you follow this logically through its life cycle, if they create it, so that's like birth, and then like it's adolescent, they start proving it. It matures to adulthood where they're able to like gather tons of data. We know they're mining data from us, everything we do, everywhere we go, everything we touch. The next step in the life cycle is going to be for it to mature to, instead of just trying to stop crimes when they're happening, it's going to be for it to mature to stop crimes prior to happening.
And I would argue, if you manage that correctly, and hear me out, that could work. So you know how the defund the police movement wanted to fire police officers and hire social workers?
Mm-hmm.
Better idea is you hire entertainment people. Singing telegram people, strippers, clowns, and mimes.
Mimes are terrifying.
So, picture this. We'll call the guy Dick Dastardly. Is getting ready to leave his house on his
Mr.
purse
Dastardly to you.
purse snatching tour of 5th Street.
Okay.
He walks out into his hallway.
Mime.
2 mimes, invisible wall. And they're right there. Slow him down for 20 minutes, right? He's getting irritated.
Mm-hmm.
In comes a clown.
Honking
Honking the horn, right? The mimes have left. He's gotten a little bit further down the hallway, but in the stairwell, the clown, right? He's getting mad. So furious.
Mm-hmm.
Bam, stripper. He feels a little better.
Strippergram.
Crime
She's
averted.
singing a song. Crime averted.
There's not strippergrams yet. I've never heard of that. That would be a hit.
So those who vehemently oppose this recognize the value of the information, the value of the algorithm. Think into the future. That if this exists, it can be corrupted. It can be changed.
Can be, yes. Yes, not would be, not like every other thing that exists.
Right. So names could be added, without any context, taken away for money, removed off the list, for a little extra kickback, especially if they're high crimes families. So that those who oppose this recognize that this information is valuable because it is very predictive in nature. So what they want to do, and this is something that I would get behind to get off that grayscale.
Does that mean you're shutting down my clowns and mimes idea?
Mimes are terrifying.
Oh, I know. If that alone doesn't scare him back into his apartment to hold tight, I don't know what else will.
There's a rash of dead mimes all over the city a month after
a scourge.
A scourge. At any rate, they want to use this information in ways out of law enforcement hands. But more so preventatively.
Where I was initially going with that is, how they wanted to turn it into social workers.
Yeah.
That's where you can, if you can get a week out and
then you predict it's going to happen on this corner block.
You'd want it to be private industry manages it, first of all. So you don't have crime backing, or you don't want to have the criminal justice system backing it up, but you'd want to have like rich benefactors supporting this. And they go knock on the door and they say, like a good missionary would, hey, have you heard the good news? Life is grand or something like that. I mean, there's multiple ways we could handle it, find the guy a better job or
right. So using this predictive nature to remove some of those factors that are contributing to it. So the things we can control, we can't control past crimes and things like that. We can't control it. But what we can control is recognizing that the past crimes, in addition to the shitty job, in addition to the bad apartment building
Lack
he
of
works
mimes in the hallway.
that has mimes in the frickin' hallway,
No, lack of.
that may be a contributing factor.
I have not seen a mime in my life.
Look at you. Crime free.
True. Maybe that is. There might be mimes in these high crime areas. Someone needs to go to Southside Chicago and check in on.
Are there mimes?
Are there mimes? If not, let's put them in. Next study. Elon Musk, reach out. I got an idea. We're gonna try them out. Different cities. We'll do high crime areas. South or San Francisco. Obviously.
LA, yeah.
We'll try a different one. Chicago, I want to kick it off with mimes. So I just think that would really. I think that'd be a beautiful moment. The gangs are down there.
Release the mimes.
The Bloods and the Crips, and all of a sudden, you see like. Let me put the picture out for you, right? The picture. Garage door opens on a building, right? And they're all in their hands against the wall. It's invisible. And then the invisible garage door opens. Just imagine. The crime rate plummets. America heals, Betsy. America heals.
The Bloods start attacking, so they build their own little box. I can't. At any rate, but targeting these areas that are most commonly the red zones, these 1,000 square foot, figuring out what contributing factors can be solved. Maybe they start dropping leaflets about a school program. Maybe they start, encouraging the people in these areas for different jobs or advocational training. Maybe it's as simple as identifying that slumlord and saying, fix the freaking air conditioners. The mimes are freaking sweating all their white makeup off.
Streaky. The lines are going this way, not this way. But it's too late then. When you've already economically hollowed out an area, it's too late then. And I'm going to tell you right now, when the government has come in and destroyed Detroit is gone because of governments and unions. Detroit didn't die on its own.
Yeah.
It was the fastest growing,
Striving.
wealthiest city on earth. And 20 years later, it's a hollowed out husk because the government and the unions are, how do you say parasite in all the languages? Because they sucked it dry and left a dead husk. They gave it Lyme disease.
So if it's too late for intervention as a preventative measure, like we're just too far gone, then I say release the mimes.
Release the mimes and the strippergrams.
Strippergrams, mimes first.
See a lady walking down an apartment hallway with a stripper pole on a dolly.
She's pulling it.
Sets it up at the doorway. Ding dong, then starts doing the spin right there.
Oh, I can't. Anyway, that's the show.
Oh, I got one news story. One more thing to talk about. Where are we at here? Okay.
Oh, yeah, gross.
So remember when we talked about the Cambodian cockflower?
Yes.
Well, it has a cousin. Ohio Zoo corpse flower is about to bloom. Now, the corpse flower, they can grow to be like 8 feet tall, apparently.
They are not beautiful flowers.
It's kind of cool looking. It looks like one big wallered up leaf. But when they bloom, they're a carnivorous flower. And they smell like a corpse.
Yeah.
So
they smell like rotting flesh.
Roses are red, violets are blue. Corpse flower smells like, big
Poo.
pile of poo. Anyways, but it has that sweet death smell to it to draw
Ew.
on the flies, but it is about to bloom. So, okay, I don't know exactly how often they bloom,
Not often.
but their bloom lasts about at the most 3 days.
And then it's dead. It smells dead from the beginning, but it's actually dead.
Well, they don't actually die. They close back in on themselves. It closes back up because it's eating.
Yuck. Worse yuck.
But they only it's like once a year that they open, if that. So, if you guys if you're in the Cincinnati area and you want to go witness this beautiful moment in nature, this
Yes.
once in a lifetime opportunity, get down to the Cincinnati Zoo and
Take a sniff.
give it a check out. Let us know what you think. Yeah, I would, if I was closer, I would go.
You
I
would
wanna
go smell it? You would?
Yes.
Yuck.
Oh, apparently you don't have to get like right up on it. It's not like a rose where you gotta you gotta lightly tuck your face.
No,
into
I'm
it.
sure it's so
No,
pungent.
I hear it's like blocks away. You recognize where you're at. But
Well, you had goats once. You could have those flowers in your
that
yard.
goat, you could smell a block and a half away. That goat, and you would watch him. He would kind of twist just a little bit, and he would pee up onto his back to just add that extra
Spread it around.
dracar, you know, just to bring on the lady goats. I had no lady goats, just the one dude goat, and he was a dick, and he would ram you and didn't eat the weeds like I wanted. No, that corpse flower would be gentle compared to what he had going on.
Get a couple of them.
And he stunk up the neighborhood for a month after he was gone. He was there for like 3 days. Oh,
It only took you that long to be like, yeah, this isn't working out.
no, the guy down the street said, "Hey, can I have a goat?" Just like, because he wasn't eating the weeds. He was just stinking up the neighborhood.
Come get him.
And he would break out. He was a dink. That goat was a jerk face. Seriously. All right, let's see. Any more comments? I agree with your opinion, Norman says. Human nature will pervert this, yes.
Yes.
And Kendra says, must have been a male goat. You ain't kidding. Oh, they stink, especially if they not have been fixed. Okay, so the story on the goat. I see the goat wandering the neighborhood. So I'm like, I'm going to hold on to someone's goat. You know, they lost their goat. I'm going to put him in my backyard to chew on the weeds and put the word out that a goat's gone. Well, word come back through the grapevine. Owner said goat did not want said goat back. Goat was a jerk face and smelt like piss. Like old, stale, sticky piss. Like honey pot on a hot August day. Piss. And so, all right, fine. The goat stunk really bad. Like I didn't want to go home after work. And eyes watering, whatever else. And then the old judge, he says, yeah, I could use a goat. And please come get him. Then the goat was gone. I was thankful for that. The goat was awful. And no, I don't know if he was fixed, but he was stinky. He smelled like you weren't fixed. True. But yeah, but seriously, this is a big question, something to think about in the future. I think we need to start getting our great ethical minds on it.
Well, yeah, and I think because most of the populace has been a victim to, or even if they have children who have committed, really heinous crimes, you would want to save them from doing that. So knowing that ahead of time, I think that is the slope that most people will find themselves on.
The best thing I think we could do is if we can figure out the victim and interdict on their behalf with them.
Yeah.
Another big one is suicides.
Yeah.
That's it. That'd be a huge one. And Kedra says we had a really, really jackass one. I think that's all male goats. He would charge me or my kids every time we went outside. He would stand on top of the haystack and attack me. I did not like him.
Way to the auction.
Yes. And I'll bet they don't taste good. Things have marinated for too long. You know what tastes...
I had 3 cute little pygmy goats. The only problem I had with them is we bought them 3 of those dog igloo houses, and they ate one of them. And then they stood, all 3 of them, between the 2, and then they ate the next one. And then they fought to stand on the single igloo house that was left behind until they ate it.
Freaking goats.
Oh. Look out there, and half of it's gone. I'm like, well, shit. Pretty soon, nothing left.
It's out in the rain. Oh, but they are cute.
They were cute, but
baby pygmy goats in pajamas is still one of the best YouTube searches you can do. It's fantastic.
It is good stuff.
And yeah, but anyways, thanks for joining us.
Have a great week.
Yeah. That, and if you're thinking about committing a crime, pre-cog yourself. Say
we need to take ownership.
That's criminals. What we really need. What we really need is we need the shopping cart test to become universal. How do we teach those values in school? Because there's some people who aren't going to get it at home.
Yeah.
So how do we get values like that in school? People need to take personal responsibility over their own lives. All right. Have a good weekend.
Have a good week.